My love, out of every single video you could have stopped on tonight, out of every voice you could have let into your ears in this exact moment, you found this one. And I need to tell you why that isn't random, why I believe something bigger than coincidence brought you here. Because once I explain it, I think you're going to feel exactly what I felt the moment I realized it myself. I don't believe in coincidence the way I used to. I used to think things just happened randomly. That timing was arbitrary. That the algorithm deciding what shows up on your screen was just numbers and code, with no deeper meaning behind it. But the more I've sat with this feeling I have, the more I've started to believe that some things are placed in front of us exactly when we need them, exactly when we're ready to receive them, even if we don't fully understand why in the moment. So here's the truth, my love. This message found you because somewhere inside you, even if you can't fully explain it, you've been waiting to hear exactly what I'm about to say. Love, stay with me, because there's more I need to say. I think about the specific kind of person who stops scrolling on a message like this one, who actually stays, who lets these words settle instead of swiping past them within the first few seconds. I think about how that says something about you, about the part of your heart that's still open, still hoping, still willing to believe that real, soft, devoted love might actually exist, even in a world that sometimes makes cynicism feel safer than hope. I think that's exactly the kind of heart I've been hoping to reach. My love, not someone who's given up on believing in this kind of connection, but someone whose hope is still alive, even if it's been quietly waiting, even if it's been a little guarded after everything life has thrown at it. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the shocking part of what I need to tell you. The reason this message actually found you tonight, specifically you, out of everyone else it could have reached. I believe that real love leaves signs along the way, small nudges guiding two people toward each other even before they consciously realize what's happening. I believe you're exactly the kind of person I've been describing in messages like this one for a while now, even before I knew your name, even before I knew anything specific about your life. I think that's the shocking truth, my love. I wasn't just speaking generally into the void, hoping someone and column would relate. I was speaking specifically about a person like you, someone whose heart carries exactly the qualities I've been describing: patience, softness, quiet strength, the capacity to love deeply, even after experiencing disappointment. And somehow, through everything that had to align perfectly for this message to reach you tonight, it found its way to exactly the right person. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about the specific timing of tonight. Whatever led you to open this particular video at this particular moment. Maybe you were feeling a little lonely. Maybe you were scrolling absent-mindedly, looking for something to distract you from a long day. Maybe you weren't looking for anything meaningful at all. And that's exactly what makes this feel even more significant. The fact that meaning found you even when you weren't actively searching for it. I think about how often the most important things in life arrive exactly that way, unexpectedly, during ordinary moments, rather than during moments we've deliberately set aside for something significant to happen. I think this message finding you tonight follows that same quiet pattern. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my chest. I think about what it means that you're still here, still listening, even after I've explained why I believe this isn't coincidence. I think that says something important about your own openness, your own willingness to consider that maybe, just maybe, this message carries more significance than a random video appearing on your screen. I think that willingness itself is part of why this found you specifically. Because someone less open, someone more guarded, might have swiped away the moment things started feeling this personal. But you stayed. And that tells me something important about the kind of heart you carry. My love, a heart still capable of hoping, still willing to believe in something meaningful, even when logic might suggest skepticism instead. Stay with me, because there's more I need to share. I think about everything I've learned about love through my own journey. The disappointments, the near misses, the moments I almost gave up believing something this real actually existed. I think about how all of that experience shaped exactly what I'm able to offer now. Patience earned through hardship, devotion strengthened through disappointment, the capacity to recognize real connection, because I've experienced enough of the alternative to know the difference clearly. I think that journey wasn't random either, my love. I think it prepared me specifically for this moment, for these words, for reaching exactly the kind of person who needed to hear them tonight. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the specific qualities I imagine you carry, based simply on the fact that you're still here, listening this closely. I imagine you're someone who gives more than you receive, sometimes. Someone who's patient with others, even when patience isn't always returned equally. I imagine you're someone who still believes in loyalty, in showing up, in choosing people deliberately, instead of casually. I imagine you're someone who's been quietly hoping for a love that matches the depth of what you're capable of offering, even if you haven't found it fully yet. Would like if any of that resonates with you, my love, even a little. I think that's further proof that this message found exactly who it was supposed to find tonight. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about what happens next, now that this message has found you, now that you understand why I believe this connection matters beyond simple coincidence. I don't expect you to have this all figured out immediately. I don't expect certainty from you the same night you're hearing this for the first time. I just want you to sit with the possibility, to consider that maybe, just maybe, there's a reason your heart felt something reading or listening to this. A reason you didn't scroll past. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my heart. I think about gratitude, immediate and genuine, simply for the fact that you're still here, still considering everything I've shared tonight. I think about how meaningful it feels, knowing that even without knowing exactly who you are yet, specifically, personally, I already sense a connection forming through the simple fact that these words resonated enough to keep you listening this far into the message. I think about the future, still unwritten, still full of possibility, and how exciting it feels to imagine that maybe, just maybe, tonight marks the beginning of something neither of us fully expected, but both of us might have secretly been hoping for. And if you're still here, still feeling everything I've shared tonight, still wondering if this message really was meant to find you specifically, I need you to know there's still more I want to say, more reasons why I believe this connection matters, more of this quiet, hopeful truth I still need you to understand, especially now, especially as this feels like just the beginning of something neither of us can fully explain yet, but both of us might already be feeling. I think about the specific kind of loneliness that exists even when you're surrounded by people, the kind that doesn't come from being physically alone, but from feeling like no one truly sees the parts of you that matter most. I think about how common that particular loneliness has become, especially now in a world that moves so quickly, that rewards surface-level connection over anything deeper. I think about how many people scroll through their days surrounded by noise, by notifications, by constant contact that somehow still leaves them feeling unseen underneath it all. I wonder if that's part of what you've been carrying too, my love, even quietly, even without fully naming it to yourself. I wonder if some part of you has been waiting, not for attention exactly, but for recognition, for someone to notice the specific shape of your heart, instead of just the version of you the world usually gets to see. Stay with me, because there's more I need to say. I think about how strange it is that the people who give the most love are often the ones who receive it least consistently in return. I think about how often kindness gets taken for granted, how often patience gets assumed instead of appreciated, how often someone's steady, quiet devotion becomes something others simply expect, rather than something they actively cherish. I have a feeling that describes something you've experienced. My love, giving generously to people who didn't always reciprocate that generosity the way you deserved. I think that's part of why this message matters so much, why I believe it found you specifically. Because I don't want to be someone who takes what you give for granted. I want to be someone who notices it, who appreciates it out loud, who makes sure you never feel invisible in the way you might have felt before. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the specific fear that sometimes comes with hoping for something this significant. The fear of being disappointed again, of opening your heart only to have it handled carelessly one more time. I understand that fear, my love, even from a distance, even without knowing your specific story yet. I understand it because I felt it myself. The hesitation that comes after being hurt. The instinct to protect yourself by expecting less, instead of risking hope again. But I want you to know something important. Fear like that isn't weakness. It's evidence of a heart that's loved deeply before, that's capable of loving deeply again, once it feels safe enough to try. I don't want you to abandon that fear entirely tonight. I just want you to consider that maybe, this time, it's safe enough to let a little hope back in, alongside it. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about what it actually means to build something real with someone, not the fantasy version people sometimes imagine, but the grounded, patient, everyday version that actually sustains itself over time. I think about wanting to know your story, not just the parts that are easy to share, but the harder parts too, the disappointments, the lessons, the moments that shaped who you've become. I think about wanting to earn your trust, slowly, deliberately, instead of expecting it instantly, just because I've said the right words tonight. I think that's part of what makes this different from something shallow or fleeting. I'm not asking you to believe everything all at once. I'm simply asking you to stay open to the possibility, to let this message be an invitation instead of a demand. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my chest. I think about the specific signs I believe point toward this meaning, something real, not vague, abstract signs, but the simple fact that you're still listening this far into the message. I think about how easy it would have been to stop minutes ago, to dismiss this as just another video promising connection it can't actually deliver. But you stayed, and I think that says something honest about what you're hoping for, even if you haven't fully admitted it to yourself yet. 1. I think about how much courage it actually takes to stay open to something like this, especially if you've been disappointed before, especially if cynicism would feel like the safer, easier choice right now. I see that courage, my love, even without knowing your name yet. I see it in the simple fact that you're still here. Stay with me, because there's more I need to share. I think about the kind of love I want to offer, not performative, not conditional, but steady and real, built through consistent small actions, rather than dramatic, isolated gestures. I think about wanting to be the kind of presence in your life that makes ordinary days feel a little lighter. Someone who remembers the small details you mention in passing. Someone who notices when something feels off even before you say it directly. I think about how much I want to be that for you, my love, and how much I believe I could be if given the chance to actually prove it, instead of just describing it. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the specific responsibility that comes with saying all of this, knowing that words alone don't mean much without actions to eventually back them up. I don't want you to just believe what I'm saying because it sounds beautiful tonight. I want the chance to actually show you, over time, through consistency, through showing up again and again, that this isn't just a well-crafted message designed to capture your attention temporarily. I think that distinction matters more than almost anything else I could say tonight. Words are easy. Follow through is what actually matters, and I want the opportunity to prove that difference to you directly. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about gratitude, steady and genuine, for the simple fact that you've given this message your time and attention tonight. especially in a world where attention has become one of the most valuable things anyone can offer. I think about how meaningful it feels, even without knowing you personally yet, to sense that something about these words resonated enough to keep you here this long. I think about hope, quiet but persistent. Hope that this really is the beginning of something neither of us fully expected. Hope that whatever brought you here tonight continues unfolding into something real, something worth building carefully, patiently, together. Stay with me a little longer because there's still more sitting in my heart. I think about what I hope you take with you after tonight, even if nothing more comes from this exact moment. I hope you remember that your heart, exactly as it is, patient, hopeful, maybe a little guarded after everything you've experienced, is worth exactly the kind of love I've been describing tonight. I hope you remember that staying open, even after disappointment, isn't naive, it's brave. I think about the word timing and how much power it actually holds in shaping our lives, more power than most people give it credit for. I think about how often we look back on significant moments and realize they only happened because of something small, something that seemed insignificant in the moment. A decision to open an app, a decision to keep scrolling instead of putting the phone down, a decision to stay on this video instead of moving to the next one. I think about how those small decisions add up to something larger than any single choice could explain on its own. I believe tonight is one of those moments for you, my love, even if it doesn't feel dramatic or obvious yet. Sometimes the most significant turning points in our lives don't announce themselves loudly. They arrive quietly, disguised as something ordinary, and it's only later that we understand how much they actually mattered. Stay with me, because there's more I need to say. I think about the specific version of hope I want to offer you tonight. Not the reckless kind that ignores red flags or rushes into things carelessly, but the grounded kind. The kind that stays open without abandoning wisdom. The kind that believes good things are still possible without pretending risk doesn't exist. I think that's the version of hope I'm asking you to consider tonight. Not blind faith, but careful, intentional openness to something that might actually be real. I think about how rare that balance actually is. Hope without recklessness, openness without naivety. I think you already carry that balance within you, my love, even if you haven't fully recognized it in yourself yet. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the specific reason I believe connection like this matters so much right now, in this particular moment in both our lives. I think about how easy it's become to stay surface level with people, to avoid the vulnerability that real connection actually requires, to protect yourself by keeping everyone at a comfortable, manageable distance. I think about how much courage it takes to resist that pattern, to choose depth instead of safety, to choose honesty even when guardedness would feel easier. Thought. I think that's exactly what I'm choosing tonight, my love, and what I'm hoping you might be willing to choose too. Even if it feels a little frightening to consider. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about the specific qualities that make someone truly ready for a love like this. Not perfection, not having everything figured out, but simply willingness. Willingness to be honest. Willingness to stay even when things get uncertain. Willingness to keep choosing connection, even after disappointment, has taught you that connection sometimes hurts. I think you carry that willingness, my love, even if it's been quiet, even if it's been protected carefully behind some understandable caution. I think that willingness is exactly what makes someone ready for real love. Not certainty, not fearlessness. Just the quiet decision to remain open despite everything that might tempt you toward closing off completely. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my chest. I think about what I hope happens next. Not tonight necessarily, not immediately, but over time, slowly, the way real connection actually needs to unfold. I think about conversations that go deeper than surface level small talk, about learning your story patiently, about earning your trust through consistency instead of expecting it, simply because these words felt meaningful tonight. During the time, I think about wanting to prove, through actions and time, that this message wasn't just beautifully written and then forgotten. I want it to be the beginning of something real, something built carefully, something that actually lives up to everything I've described tonight. Stay with me, because there's more I need to share. I think about the specific fear I have, admitting it honestly, that maybe this message reaches you and then simply becomes another video you watched and moved past. Another moment of feeling something briefly before life's usual noise pulls your attention elsewhere again. I don't want that to happen, my love. I want this to matter beyond tonight, beyond this single moment of connection. I think about how much depends on what happens next, not just from my side but from yours too. Whether you're willing to stay open long enough to see if this becomes something real, instead of just something that felt nice to hear once. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about gratitude one more time tonight, deep and genuine, for the simple fact that you've given these words your full attention, that you've stayed present through everything I've shared, that something about this message resonated enough to keep you here this long. I think that alone tells me something meaningful about who you are, about the openness you still carry despite whatever life has already put you through. I think about hope, quiet and steady. Hope that tonight really does mark a beginning, instead of just a passing moment. Hope that this connection continues unfolding into something both of us will look back on as significant. Not random at all, but exactly the timing it was always meant to be. Stay with me a little longer, because there's still more sitting in my heart. I think about what I want you to carry with you after tonight, regardless of what happens next. I want you to remember that your heart, exactly as it is, deserves this kind of attention, this kind of care, this kind of patient devotion. I want you to remember that staying open, even after everything that might have taught you to close off, is one of the bravest things a person can choose to keep doing. My love, you're still here with me, and there's one more piece of this I want to give you tonight. Something that feels like the natural place for this particular message to settle, at least for now. I think about what it actually means to receive a message like this one, and let it matter instead of dismissing it as just another video competing for your attention. I think about how much noise exists in the world right now, how many voices are constantly asking for a piece of your focus, your time, your emotional energy, most of them offering very little in return. I think about how rare it is to find something that actually gives back instead of just taking, and I hope, more than almost anything else tonight, that this has felt like one of those rare exceptions for you. Stay with me, because there's more I need to say. I think about the specific kind of person who deserves a love, this intentional, this patient, this willing to slow down and actually mean every word instead of rushing towards something surface level and temporary. I think about how you deserve someone who notices the quiet parts of you, not just the parts you show the world on your easier days, but the tired parts, the guarded parts, the parts that still hope, even when hoping feels risky. I think that's exactly the kind of attention I want to keep offering you, my love. Not just tonight, in this single message, but consistently, patiently, over whatever time it takes for trust to actually build into something real. Stay with me, because there's still more unfolding. I think about the specific promise I want to make, quietly, without needing grand declarations to prove it's sincere. I promise to keep showing up honestly, even after tonight's message becomes just one conversation among many we might eventually have. I promise not to let this be a single moment of beautiful words followed by silence. I promise to treat whatever connection grows from this with the same care I've tried to put into everything I've said tonight. I think that promise matters more than anything else I could add right now. Because words without follow-through are just noise. And I don't want to be noise in your life, my love. I want to be something steady, something real, something that actually lives up to everything this message has tried to express. Then stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about the quiet courage it takes to stay open after a message like this one. To let yourself feel something, instead of immediately protecting yourself with skepticism. I think about how that courage, small as it might feel in this moment, is actually significant, is actually brave, especially in a world that often rewards guardedness over vulnerability. I see that courage in you tonight, my love, even without knowing your name, even without knowing your specific story yet. I see it in the simple fact that you've stayed through this entire message, layer after layer, letting these words settle, instead of scrolling away the moment things started to feel dispersonal. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my chest. I think about what happens after tonight, how this moment might become the beginning of something ongoing, something that unfolds slowly, patiently, the way anything real actually needs to unfold. I think about conversations still waiting to happen, stories still waiting to be shared, trust still waiting to be built carefully over time, instead of assumed instantly because of one meaningful message. Well, I think about how much I'm looking forward to that unfolding, whatever shape it eventually takes, however long it takes to become something solid, instead of just something hopeful. Stay with me, because there's more I need to share. I think about gratitude settling deeply now for everything tonight has offered. For the simple fact that you gave this message the space to actually reach you, instead of dismissing it the way so many things get dismissed in a world full of constant competing noise. I think about how meaningful that attention feels even now, even without knowing exactly where this leads. I think about hope, quiet but persistent, still present even as this particular message begins to settle into something more restful for tonight. I think about how much I believe in what's been shared here, how much I trust that timing like this doesn't happen by accident. Stay with me a little longer, because there's still more sitting in my heart. I think about what I want you to hold on to most from everything tonight. Not the specific words themselves, but the feeling underneath them, the reminder that your heart deserves patience, deserves attention, deserves someone willing to stay even after the initial excitement of a first message fades into something quieter and more sustained. And if you're still here, still feeling everything this message has stirred in you tonight, I need you to know there's still more unfolding inside me, more of this quiet, hopeful truth I still want you to understand, especially now, especially as I keep believing, with everything in me, that this connection finding you tonight was never random at all, but exactly the beginning it was always meant to be. I think about the specific weight of a first message like this one, how much it actually asks of the person receiving it. Patience to sit with unfamiliar honesty, openness to consider that maybe something meaningful really is unfolding, instead of dismissing it as performance. I think about how much I appreciate you carrying that weight tonight, staying present through something that could have easily felt like too much too soon, but somehow didn't, at least not enough to make you leave. I think that says something quiet and important about the kind of connection this could become. Not rushed, not forced, but recognized slowly, layer by layer, the way real things actually reveal themselves over time. Stay with me, because there's more I need to say. I think about the specific difference between infatuation and genuine care, how infatuation burns bright and fast, often fading just as quickly once the initial excitement settles, while genuine care builds slowly, steadily, becoming more solid the longer it exists rather than less. I think about wanting exactly that second kind with you, my love. Not something that feels intense tonight and forgettable tomorrow, but something that deepens gradually, the way trust actually needs to develop between two people who are serious about building something real. I think about how tempting it can be to mistake intensity for depth, especially in messages like this one, especially when emotions feel this present and immediate. But I want you to know I'm not interested in intensity that fades. I'm interested in depth that lasts. When interested in depth that lasts, Triponom, stay with me, because there's still more unfolding, I think about what it means to actually earn someone's trust instead of simply asking for it up front. I think about how trust built through consistent, patient effort feels entirely different from trust given too quickly, too easily, without enough evidence to support it. I want to earn your trust, my love, not through beautiful words alone, but through showing up again and again, proving through repetition that this connection means what I've said it means tonight. I think that process takes time, and I'm genuinely willing to give it that time, however long it takes for trust like that to feel solid instead of fragile. Stay with me, because there's more I need you to hear. I think about the specific kind of partner I want to become for you. Patient during uncertainty, honest during difficult conversations, present during both the easy seasons and the harder ones. I think about how much I want to prove that description through action, instead of just describing it in a single message. I think about how much more meaningful proof becomes over time compared to promises made in a single isolated moment. I think that's part of what I'm asking you to consider tonight. Not immediate certainty, but a willingness to see whether time and consistency actually confirm everything this message has tried to express. Stay with me, because there's still more sitting in my chest. I think about the quiet vulnerability of putting feelings this honest into words, not knowing exactly how they'll be received. Trusting that honesty matters more than protecting myself from the possibility of disappointment. I think about how much courage that requires, especially without knowing yet how you'll respond, especially while still uncertain whether this connection will actually continue unfolding the way I hope it will. I think that vulnerability is worth the risk, my love, because I believe connection built on honesty, even uncertain honesty, matters more than distance built on self-protection. Stay with me, because there's more I need to share. I think about gratitude, returning again, steady beneath everything else tonight, grateful simply for your continued presence through this message, grateful that something about these words felt worth staying for, instead of moving past quickly. I think about hope, quiet and persistent. Hope that this becomes the beginning of something real, something built carefully over time, something neither of us fully expected, but both of us might have quietly been hoping to find. I think about gratitude, returning again, steady beneath everything else tonight. Grateful simply for your continued presence through this message. Grateful that something about these words felt worth staying for, instead of moving past quickly. I think about hope, quiet and persistent. Hope that this becomes the beginning of something real, something built carefully over time, something neither of us fully expected, but both of us might have quietly been hoping to find.